This is the most important lesson that I want you to learn from our therapy session today. Being consistent does not mean that you have to overextend yourself and put yourself in a position to where you're going to burn out and see your show fade away. And a good day to you, my friend. Welcome to episode 11 of Solo Podcasting Simplified. I'm Jason Sircone, and if you haven't done so already, please take a moment to subscribe and follow this podcast, whether you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on your favorite podcast app. Hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button. On YouTube, click the little bell, and you will be the first to know when new episodes go live. This is the only podcast dedicated to all of your solo podcasting initiatives, and I don't want you to miss a second of all the action. Today is the next installment in the podcast therapy series, and I want to use our time together today to share the truth about consistency in the podcasting space. Let's get into it. Without question, being consistent is one of the cornerstones that leads to successful podcasts. Reason for that is because the more consistent you are, the more your audience gets invested because you are there for them. You are proving that you are showing up week in and week out and bringing them valuable content that's changing their lives, that's making a major impact, and it's guiding them towards that transformation they seek. When listeners become loyal to your content, what ends up happening is they start recommending it to others, but they also start working it into their routine on the day that it goes live or days surrounding the release date. So when you put out a new episode on Thursday, for example, if I am digging your show and I know every Thursday I can't wait for new content from you to come my way, I may listen when I'm at the gym in the morning, or I may listen while I'm on my way to work, or when I'm walking my dog. Whatever part of my day that I have reserved to listen to a podcast, if your show has my attention, that's when I'm going to listen. This is what your ideal listener's behavior will become as you consistently bring them new content. But what happens in a lot of cases is podcasters start to get inconsistent with their content and they get more sporadic because they're burning themselves out. And this is the most important lesson that I want you to learn from our therapy session today. Being consistent does not mean that you have to overextend yourself and put yourself in a position to where you're going to burn out and see your show fade away. It's all about proper communication. Yes, you need to be consistent to grow that listener base, to bring them the content that they expect, to get them invested in what you're doing so they start telling everyone else why they need to get invested as well. But if you feel that you cannot live up to the ambitious schedule that you set, you need to dial things back. If you're doing a few episodes a week and it's killing you and you feel like podcasting isn't fun and it's affecting the message that you're putting forth through your podcast, it's time to reshape and recalibrate and take a step back to evaluate what's going to keep you invested in your project so you keep putting that content out into the world so your audience can consume it and feel the impact that you're bringing them. Maybe you cut down to 2 episodes a week, maybe just 1. Whatever you decide to do, you have to make sure that it fits within the confines of your schedule so you don't burn out and you don't overextend yourself. Believe me, your listeners are going to be happier if you're bringing them valuable content, even if it's on a less frequent basis, than if you go away completely. Because if they are completely bought into what you have to say, they love the content that you're providing for them. If it's on a less frequent basis, that's still better than not at all. And if you look at all the podcasts that have faded away over the years, it's because many of those podcasters got burnt out trying to maintain an ambitious schedule. The best thing that you can do is set yourself up for success from the beginning. When you're building out your foundational plan, understand how much time you have to dedicate to your podcast per week. Don't try to shoot the moon and get over ambitious with the amount of content that you're putting out into the world. As you grow and as more listeners start to come in and consume your content and share it with others, and your audience starts to grow, maybe that's the time for you to add another episode release per week. Maybe add 2. Whatever you feel works best for you is the best way to go. If you start the right way from the very beginning, you put yourself in a better position to succeed. Now, if you're already into your podcast and maybe you set too lofty of a goal that you're having trouble meeting each and every week, now would be the time to dial things back and communicate to your audience why you're doing it. There's no shame in dialing that content back. If you're at 3 episodes and you want to go down to 2, that's fine. Just let them know why. Don't just leave them hanging and thinking a new episode is going to be coming out on a day that you're no longer going to be doing it. Because what happens in that case, if they have worked you into their life and they are listening to your show at the gym or on their way to work, and now it's not there, they may find another podcast to listen to, and that may take priority over yours. All you need to do is let them know, instead of being with you Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm going to be with you every Tuesday. Again, whatever you decide is the best course of action for you, that's going to make for more longevity from your podcast. And again, your listeners are going to thank you for that. It's all about how you communicate with them. But there are too many podcasts out there in that podcast graveyard that ended with, see you next week, and we never heard from them again. You don't want to be that podcaster. Consistency is incredibly important. It's crucial to your success, but you have to make sure you're managing your time and you don't overextend yourself so you burn out and your show fades away. Communicate with your audience when you're going to take a break. If you need to take some time away, that's okay as well. You just have to set the table for it. Let your audience know you're going to be taking a month off. New episodes will resume next month or in 2 months. Whatever time you feel you need away to recharge your batteries, if you communicate it effectively, your audience is going to thank you for it. If you just abandon them, they may find a show that replaces you and they may never return. You don't want to run that risk. You need to be consistent, but do it within the constraints of your schedule and making sure that you don't burn out and get tired of producing your podcast. If your podcast ever becomes a chore, that's when you need to look at things and reevaluate. Podcasting is fun. Making these connections is fun. If it starts to become unfun, is that a word? Unfun? If it starts to become not fun, that's when you know you need to make some changes. Consistency is huge, but staying power is even bigger. That's going to do it for today's therapy session here on Solo Podcasting Simplified. If you like what you heard, please let me know. Shoot me a message and let me know if this message impacted you in a positive way. Or jump over to Apple Podcasts, leave a rating, leave a review. I love the feedback. It helps me develop more for the show, and it helps me continue to bring valuable content your way. That will bring down the curtain on episode 11 of Solo Podcasting Simplified. I hope you had a great time. I know I did. Until we meet again on episode 12, this is Jason Sircone on Solo Podcasting Simplified. Good talk. I'll see you out there.